Hi, my name is Grace Shalom Hopkins and welcome to another episode of Spin Weekly. This is the Tour de Fleece wrap-up video. I have made a sample. Hold on to your proverbial hats. You heard me right. I made a mitten sample for this yarn. I am going hog on the mittens and I kind of want to mitten every yarn that I've ever spun now, which works out great for those of you who have been on my bum about sample making since I was like 18 and started making videos. I'm 26 now. Your samples are finally coming through. Thank you for your patience. But no, seriously, knitting and counting, it's hard. It's hard. You've heard me talk about it before. It's hard, right? It's hard. So I'm really excited about this sample. So you saw how I set the yarn in the last video. I used the unicorn fiber rinse and I hung it. I didn't put a weight on it. I just hung it. I did stretch it with my hands. And then as I was knitting, there was some over twisting, which I did anticipate, having not really done a lot of singles to leave a single recently. I knew that I was going to have to kind of combat that a little bit. So what I did there is I did the classic, like, hold your knitting in the air and let it twirl thing. And that worked out really well. I only had to do that maybe like once every 10 or 15 minutes, which doesn't feel like a lot. If I was having to do it every row, that would be really obnoxious, but it wasn't like that. So the knitting pattern I used was the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits, and I strongly recommend it. I only have knit Tin Can Knit patterns so far because they're so informative for new people like me. So if you're a newer knitter, I really recommend them. Tin Can Knits, absolutely, they come through with the visuals, the instructions that you can actually read if you don't know like the knitting lingo super well. And then if you're confused about something, they usually have a tutorial for whatever technique you're confused about, including tutorials on like setting the mitten and to swatching and what kind of needles are what kind of needles, all of that sort of thing. So recommend them, and if you can't find what you're looking for, or if you're a geek like me and want to decide if that's the thing you want to do, because there's like a million different ways to increase and decrease, and maybe you don't like their increase and decrease, or maybe you knit combination like me and you want to double check that that's the best choice for combination knitting. Pinterest and YouTube are your friend. They help you find stuff. But I didn't actually change this particular pattern at all. I did a long tail cast on. I think it's just a standard long tail cast on. It's where you have the yarn, so you make the slip knot and then you put your fingers through the loop and you're like whoop whoop, whoop whoop, whoop whoop. If you're a knitting person, you know what I mean. If you're a new knitter, you're probably like, I have no idea what you just said. But I think most of you are knitters based on your comments and feedback, so I'm gonna just go with it. This is not a knitting tutorial channel. So I did that. I used size 2s and the adult size small pattern, and I have small hands, and I think it's more like a children's size large in the yarn that I used and the needles that I used, but no complaints. I think it went really well. I'm looking around to see if I can hold up the needles. These are the needles that I used, and I will leave a link in the description down below, and they are far superior to any other knitting needle I've ever tried for knitting magic loop. They're sharp. The cord is actually flexible, which is great, whereas my... Okay, obviously these are different. These are the Knit Picks aluminum ones, and they're pretty sharp, but nothing in comparison to these other ones. I don't know if you can even see that. I'm trying to hold it against the wall. Knit Picks sharp one that I can't remember. I'll probably put it down here, or hopefully I will have already put it down there. Anyway, if I don't, it's in the description box down below. But yeah, and so the cable itself, you can see the difference here. Like this guy, and then this guy is like floppy. So that was my biggest complaint with oh, I should have just showed you on this knitting project. Look at that. What? It's defying gravity. These are the wooden ones by Knit Picks, and they're really blunt comparatively. So I don't really like the blunt, and the cable's freaking driving me nuts. So if you have a suggestion, I've done the dipping in boiling water thing, didn't work. I hate them. I love this. So yeah. If you want to trade me, if you're in the mood to buy a rather extensive collection of Knit Picks in both wood and aluminium, so that way I can buy some more of these things, yeah, you can always message me on Instagram, because I'm down for that. But anyhow, so used those. I used the 2s. You're supposed to use, I think, 0s for the ribbing and then 2s for the body, but I went ahead and used 2s all the way through, and I don't think that caused a problem at all. I don't know if this is just my genius or if other people have done this with mitten patterns in particular. Some people, when they swatch, they actually leave little eyelets to kind of denote information about it, like needle size or whatever. Well, I went ahead and did 2 purl bumps on kind of this section of the mitten where it's flat like the stockinette. So I did 2 purl bumps for 2 rows. So it's like bump, 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 bump. So that way you could actually see them. If it was 1, I felt like I couldn't really see it. So I went back and did 2. And I did 2 because there's the size in the pattern is like kids and then adult small. So the 2 little bumps covers it well. There's also a toddler, but I think toddlers are really obvious. Like, you can't mix up toddler. They're like, so I didn't even bother to put that one on there. I guess technically it should have been 3, but you know. So I thought that was pretty smart, and you couldn't really see it on the final mitten pattern. And then, like my hand sewing video, I don't have a lot of really sexy ambient footage of me knitting, but I do have a couple of clips that I'll throw in there. And yeah, I think the color work is really beautiful. I'll put some videos and pictures so that way you can really see. And I'll leave the picture on for kind of a long time, so it might be a little boring for some of you, but I really want a chance for you guys to see how that worked out. And because it's a mitten, I still have, oh, I don't have the ball of yarn with me, a bunch of yarn left. So, and I only knit 1 because I'm trying to get this done before Tour de Fleece like ends. So it's bigger than this ball. I'm trying to find a ball to compare it to. It's bigger than this one. So yeah, I think that it works really well for mittens. It would work really well for socks. It would work really well because it's a single. If you did it in a luxury, it might work really well for like a shawl or whatever it is people knit with long linear fractaling. I'm just not even going to pretend to give you advice there. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So anyway, I'm going to insert the footage so you can see and look at how beautiful it is. I think it went really well. It was the perfect blend of fractaling and Berber pulling, and it reads really marled. There are some parts where it's more polka dot where I didn't get the true like 50-50 Berber pulling, and I think that actually adds character and depth, and it kind of visually cues you that it's not a barber pull, because at first you're like, oh, it's a marled yarn, so pretty, so great. Oh, this is a fractal, this is something new and different. that's kind of how I see it. Yeah, and then I will meet you on the other side. right, so this has been really, really, really fun. Let me know what you're planning on doing with the yarn from your Tour de Fleece exploits, and no shame if you're not planning on doing anything. That's literally what I've done for the entire first 10 years of my knitting career, or not knitting career, first 10 years of my not knitting spinning career. And also let me know if you plan on implementing this technique on something and what your kind of plans are there. Give me your thoughts and feelings. So if you liked this video, hit the like button, and if you want to stay tuned and catch more of these shenanigans, hit the subscribe button. And as per usual, this video is brought to you by our beautiful Patreon people. If you are not a Patreon person, you can go ahead and follow the links down below to check it out and see if it would be a good fit for you. We have voiceover archive and sometimes music videos that aren't seen here. If you get the voiceover version on YouTube, I do the music video version for Patreon people. At the $10 a month Patreon perk level, you get 2 of my recipe cards and all that kind of goodness. So there's options for $1 all the way up to $15 a month, so it's pretty affordable. I think you will enjoy it. I also respond to comments much faster in Patreon because yeah. So if you're interested in that, that's a good option too. Unspoken perk. And if you are somebody who's bought one of my Spinolution spinning wheels from my shop, you guys are awesome. And if you buy books like this guy who's just sitting here waiting for his partner, I believe he needs a blend before he can go. He's a little bat. Just a little bat. He needs his little blend so that way he can go forth into the world. Let's show you a random inside picture. There you go. You could snag one of those too, and also be the heartbeat of the show. It will be so very wonderful. Anyway, I will see you next time. Bye.